Random House Audio presents Send No Flowers by Sandra Brown. Read for you by Alison, Fraser.
It was probably the cutest tush he had ever seen. Through the screen door he had an unrestricted view of it, a derriere roundly feminine but trim. The cut-off jeans were tight. Denim fringe clung damply to taut, slender thighs. She was on hands and knees, peering into and hesitantly poking at the fuse box near the baseboard. As she leaned down farther to investigate the intricacies of the switches, the man smiled a slow, cat-with-mouse-trapped smile of masculine pleasure. It was the smile of a gratified voyeur. He was a little ashamed of himself, but not ashamed enough to stop looking. The cabin was dark. Her flashlight gave off a meager glow. The only real illumination came from fierce flashes of blue-white lightning. The two young boys watching her efforts were growing increasingly restless.
"I'm hungry," said one of them. "You said we'd eat as soon as we got here."
"Do you know how to turn the lights on, Mom?" said the other.
"I bet you don't."
She drew in a deep breath. "It's just a fuse box, David. When I find the breaker switch, the electricity will come back on. It must have been tripped by the storm. And Adam will eat as soon as I can get the lights on and unload the car."
"You said the cabin was going to be great. I think it stinks," David complained. "We should have used tents."
"Yeah, tents," the younger brother seconded. "If you don't think I can turn on the breaker switch, what makes you think I could put up a tent?" The rising impatience in the young woman's voice was unmistakable, and the man at the door didn't blame her for it. But the two little boys looked so bedraggled that he couldn't blame them for their complaining either. Their arrival at the lake cabin had been inauspicious to say the least. He had seen the headlights of their car when they arrived. A few minutes later, he decided to brave one of the most tumultuous thunderstorms he remembered in recent history and walk to the cabin only 100 yards from his. That 100 yards was through dense woods which guaranteed the owners of the cabins privacy. Walking through it in a thunderstorm had been foolhardy, but he had become concerned for his neighbors. His electricity had gone out about 10 minutes before their arrival, and God knew when it would come back on. Now, as he listened to the whining of the boys and the near desperation in the young woman's voice, he was glad he had chanced the woods. She needed help, and she was alone. At least there was no husband and father in evidence. Now was the time to make his presence known. He had never been a window peeper and was ashamed for having stood outside this long without letting them know he was there. But he was enjoying them. Maybe watching their dilemma was acting as a panacea for his own. Observing them had certainly taken his mind off his problem. Albeit unfair, that was human nature. It was also human nature for him to feel a shaft of desire spear through him each time he gazed at the display of long, bare thighs and that incredibly delectable tush. That wasn't fair either. It was downright lechery to lust after a wife as well as the mother of two young boys. But could a man be held responsible for his thoughts?
"Mom, I have to go to the bathroom, bad."
It was Adam who spoke. "Well," she said, "since we haven't located the bathroom yet, go outside."
"It's raining."
"I know that, Adam," she said with diminishing patience. "Stand on the porch under the roof and aim out."
"Okay,"
he mumbled and turned toward the door.
"Hey, Mom, there's a man out there."
The young woman spun around, toppled backward, and gasped in alarm. "A man?" Quickly, hoping not to frighten her, he switched on his high-beam flashlight and caught in its paralyzing spotlight an impressive chest straining against a chambray workshirt tied in a knot at her waist, a tumble of blonde hair that had escaped a haphazard ponytail, and wide blue eyes. Alicia Russell gulped in air and held it, her heart pounding. A brilliant flash of lightning silhouetted him where he stood just outside the screen door. Had she locked it behind them? Would it matter? He He looked huge and fearsome against the stormy sky. And he was coming in. He pulled the screen door open. It was ripped from his hand by the force of the wind and crashed against the outside wall. She and the boys cowered. He rushed across the room and dropped to his knees in front of her where she was sprawled. Her eyes were blinded by his flashlight. She could no longer see him except as a looming hulk bending over her. She opened her mouth to scream for her boys to run. "Are you all right?" He switched off the light, and for a moment everything was black. "I don't mean to scare you. Here, let me help you up." Alicia recoiled, and the hand extended to her was withdrawn. "I'm fine," she stuttered. Startled, that's all. She pulled herself to her feet without his assistance. Her first concern was for her sons, who were eyeing the stranger curiously. "David, go help Adam, do what he has to do on the porch." If she was going to be raped and murdered, she didn't want her sons to witness it. God, where was the telephone? Why didn't the lights come back on? Who was this man, and where had he come from? Her heart was banging against her ribs and pounding on the inside of her eardrums. "Hi," David chirped. Alicia cursed herself for teaching her children to be courteous and friendly. "I'm David. This is Adam. I'm the oldest." "Hello," the man said. Alicia thought he smiled, but it was so dark she couldn't tell. Her flashlight had flickered out, and he had kept his turned off. "My name is Pierce." "David," Alicia began, only to be interrupted by her eldest. "We're going to camp here for a week, but Mom can't turn the lights on. She's not too good at things like that." The stranger looked in her direction, then back down at the boys. "Few moms are, but she couldn't have turned the lights on anyway. The power's off because of the storm." "David," Alicia ground out through gritted teeth. "Why don't you take your brother outside," the stranger suggested, "while I see if I can help your mom." "Okay, come on, Adam." The screen door slammed behind them, and the man turned to Alicia. "You're off to a bad beginning. The campers aren't too happy." If he were a rapist and murderer, thought Alicia, he was a polite one. "Where are your lanterns?" he asked. "I'll light them for you." She gave the frayed hem of her cutoffs a swift, hard tug. "I don't know. The cabin is borrowed, and I didn't have a chance to look around." "Candles?" he asked. She shook her head. "You didn't bring any emergency equipment with you?" "No, I didn't," she snapped testily, hating the incredulity in his voice. It made her feel imbecilic. This was the first camping attempt she had braved with her sons. How good was she supposed to be the first time out? "We'll be fine," she said, "when the power comes back on." "Why don't you wait out the storm in my cabin? We'll have to walk through the woods, but it's not far." "No," she rushed to say, her panic quickly resurfacing. "It only makes sense," he went on. "I can cook something for the boys on a butane stove." "No, really, Mr. Pierce." "Thank you, Mr. Pierce, but no, Pierce is my first name. Pierce Reynolds." "Mr. Reynolds, we'll manage. I don't want to leave the cabin. My husband plans to join us later tonight. We should be here when he arrives, or he'll be worried." "Oh." He rubbed the back of his neck in indecision. "I hate to leave you alone under the circumstances. Why don't we leave him a note and tell him where you are?" "Hey, Mom, we're starving," David said as he and Adam trooped back inside. "When can we eat?" "I really think it would be best if you came to my cabin," said Pierce Reynolds. Before Alicia had a chance to object, the man turned to the two boys. "How does chili sound? If you come back to my cabin with me, I can have it heated up in no time." "Gee, neat. That'd be great," David said enthusiastically. "Neat," Adam said. They were already racing back toward the screen door. "Boys," Alicia called after them frantically, but they heedlessly dashed outside. "Come on, Mrs. Russell." "Mrs. Russell, I can't leave you and the boys here alone. I promise I'm not someone you need to be afraid of." Just then another flash of lightning rent the sky in two.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?